All right, everyone. Thank you for checking out the new channel. Well, it's an updated channel. We're gonna start with this first video just to give you guys an overview of exactly what happens every day and how I make it happen with the equipment. So since I'm already in here for the day, the first step really is we're gonna go ahead and get all of the machines warmed up. Now, each machine has a 20-minute warm-up cycle that gets started every day, and it's basically a slow transition going up from a low RPM on the spindle until it's at its higher RPMs, just like breaking in an engine or anything else. It's good for the longevity of the life of the machine. If it's really, really cold the night before, the machines will generally give you a warning that says, hey, it needs to be warmed up. If you're running it constantly, it's not always necessary every morning, but I like to do it because I haven't had a spindle failure. I'm on my 6th machine, and it's just a routine that only takes 20 minutes. So while the machines are warming up, I can generally do a couple other things in the shop to keep myself busy. So that's the VF2, my pallet changer. So we're gonna head on over to the UMC. So they all have the same safety features, so you always gotta cycle and open the doors before you can run them for the first time. That way it makes sure that the safety locks are functional. Now, for those of you that are kind of new to everything we've been doing in the shop, all of the parts are machined in-house. That's number one. That's the one thing a lot of people love, is that the fact that our parts aren't made here stateside. It has multiple benefits, not only to the consumer, but also to the business itself. I'm the only person here, so if I had to try and make a lot of this stuff like how I was doing it years ago by myself, or fabricating and cutting and welding and pressing and stitching, and it just would have taken too much time. It's like the company would have never been able to grow as quickly as possible because the production just wouldn't have been there. So the two current machines that are in the shop, I'll start with the UMC 750 SS, or their super speed model. Now, UMC from Haas just means Universal Machining Center. So this 5-axis machine has a large platter, large travel on the motor, and it's honestly really rigid. It allows me to do complex parts as well as simple parts that just require a bunch of flipping and options like that. Some of these things we've switched over to the UMC like this. This is one of our pump brackets, very popular. A lot of guys have these for the twin pump hanger, found on the Z and a couple other applications. But you might look at it and say, hey, it can't be that hard to make. But at the end, it's actually a 4-operation part currently as set up. Because when it was on the 3-axis, machine it from the top, counterbore all the bolts, chamfer everything. Then we would flip it, take off the material that we use to hold it in place, or the hat. And then I would have to put the mount bracket for the float. So that's 2 6mm holes on the back. So it's standing up like this to do that. Then I would stand it up here to do one set screw or grub screw to tension the pump in place, and then another one here. So this is actually a 5-op part. So as simple as it might seem, and only being one of the components in a fuel pump assembly, you can see we're doing 5 operations on a simple piece like this. It can occupy a bunch of time. But in the UMC, when it's not blowing out a bunch of material on some of the larger parts, I just have it where it just makes a bunch of these brackets. And as you can see right here, if you take a look, this is about 2 days worth of run. It would have taken me a really, really long time to get that many brackets done on the 3-axis. So sometimes the UMC, just for multiple operation parts like that, just saves a ton of time. And it's just, here's the GS, IS, Aristo pump hanger, or Altezza. This is the same thing. This was a 2-op part, but now it is a 1-op part. So a lot of this stuff is simplified. Granted, it's a really expensive, complex machine to run a simple part like that, but when you add up the time saved and the fact that now the parts can be made in a shorter period of time and get them out the door, even when I do things like that, it just saves a ton of time. Now, this machine is optioned out with some standard features, but some of the main upgrades that I did just for reliability as far as through production and not flooding the shop is, number one, it's got the upgraded Hennig conveyor, which this is a self-cleaning unit. It actually washes a filter basket while it's running, so it keeps everything clean. So for instance, if you look at the lower mesh basket that's found on all of the hosses, this one's been down there for about 3 weeks, and you can see there's barely any chips because the heading pretty much keeps all of those fines and smaller chips from being popped out of the or cycling through the system or causing you to overflow because you forgot to change your chip basket out in the middle of the run or in the morning. So that's one option. It also has a 100-gallon tank, or the 95-gallon tank, I said, versus the standard 55, because part of the reason with these two upgrades was because this machine is geared around automation. It has the table control for pneumatics, for air vices and stuff like that. And I'm actually going to go over what the plans are as far as why a lot of those features are there. But it's got the standard 12K spindle. It does have the upgraded 50 carousel or 50 plus 1 carousel. So tool changes or swapping out tools is not a big issue. It's got the wireless Pro system. It's a great machine. It's a 2022 model. So in another few months, it's actually going to be 2 years old. It got put really into full-scale production in the shop about a year ago, and I've been using it ever since. It sat here for a while. I was really busy with some other stuff, but now that it's full-fledged in here, operation, I should have got it up and running sooner, to be honest with you. Now, the next machine we're going to check out is the VF2 SS, the pallet. It's a 3+1, so it's a total of 4 pallets, full table size. So this is a YT model, so it's basically full travel is a 30 by 20. So as you can see, this one's running a bunch of coil brackets. So this cycle itself is about 37 minutes. So every 37 minutes, I get a full pair of coil brackets out without having to touch it. Some of the other parts you'll see, I have valve covers loaded, as well as the billet runners for a lot of the DIY manifold kits, which are very popular. So I'm actually running runners, as well as CD09 motor plates are running on the unit that's inside the machine right now, as well as the coil brackets. So total runtime on all of this is probably right now maybe about 4 hours. So realistically, I only have to reload these things every 4 hours. So in between those times, I have enough time to pack some orders and do some other things, answer emails, which are constantly coming in. The way how everything is equipped in the shop now, some of the changes I made, obviously 2 machines are gone, but it's not because they weren't doing their job. It's just honestly, this combination kind of, it outperformed them, and the other machines were idle. So rather than just have them sit here, take up space, I freed up a bit of floor space, which I'm in the middle of organizing and setting up. I'm setting up a workstation out here because I do spend a lot of time going in and out of the office. As far as, I mean, I check my steps, man. I'm almost at, on a daily basis, around 8 miles a day in the shop. So in case most of you guys can't see, it's a pretty decent sized shop. Another addition is I have a much larger tool storage unit. This I acquired when the other VF2 or VF4 left the building because I had about 70 holders I had to figure out where to do. This is a great unit so far. It's really sturdy. It swivels. I move from machine to machine whenever I need to do any changes or swap out tools. And I still have a ton of space left. Now, the VF2 feature-wise, just like the UMC, standard 12K spindle, but it's got the standard. I did opt for a larger carousel because I know kind of what my parts are, and being able to swap parts out, whatever combination I have between the 4 pallets, it's rare that I need a tool that I don't already have loaded in the carousel between the combination of whatever 4 parts might be running at a given time. So this one has the 30+1 carousel. As you can see, I use these larger bins, which
still aren't large enough.
Dude, we run through these. 6 of these is usually close to about 1.5 tons, and it takes about 2.5 to 3 weeks for me to fill 6 of these bins with the amount of chips that are produced. So this one has a 95-gallon tank. Obviously, It does have the triple auger, because when you're running a bunch of pallets, a bunch of production all day, the last thing you want is to have your coolant level drop as well as have chips back up. So that's one of the primary options on a pallet changer. You got to be able to control chips, and you got to have enough coolant. So those are the two primary options, among other things. It's both machines are equipped with the through spindle coolant, which makes drilling deep holes very quick, very fast. Also indexable tooling. When I do make a lot of deep parts, like some of these valve covers, belt housings, which, I mean, if you're cutting, yeah, you can cut down in the hole, you're gonna get really crappy finishes because you're basically swirling around in a giant bowl of cereal. But the through spindle coolant allows me to clear all of that stuff out, so I can still get deep, really good wall finishes down in some of these 4, 5, 6 inch deep parts. We're actually going to do a video on some of the design process and go into a lot of the 3D printing that's done and why I decided to add a 3D printer. Versus I haven't used a 3D printer in probably about 6 years. Here's a new toy. I haven't hooked it up yet, but this is a actual downdraft blow-off machine. So a lot of parts you'll see we're blowing off with the air blowers as they're coming out of the machine to clean the coolant. This is actually a little bit better because it's a healthier process, as well as it has another purpose that we're going to go into. So as soon as the blowgun trigger is pulled, there is a large fan that is in here that actually turns on, that's air driven like a turbine, and creates a strong downdraft that pulls all of that mist down into the bottom of the tank. And as you can see, there's a ring filter here, and all of the excess coolant gets collected over here. Having stuff on wheels makes it really easy, because sometimes I just decide I'm going to reorganize the shop. This area, we do a lot of filming some of the products, going over facts and features, so you guys are familiar with that. So we're usually filming over here, or we film in the media room. I try to not do as much assembly on here, because every time you need to film something, I got to clean a bunch of stuff off. So that's part of the reason the assembly area, I decided to make something just standalone for it. Now behind here, there's a lot of you guys have seen the fiber laser, which is one of the two lasers that are in the shop. The other is the CO2. This is what we use to mark like all the torque specs, set up labeling individual parts, whether it's raw machine or anodized. So anything that gets anodized needs some sort of marking or designation, serialization is done on this. This is originally a Wisely. I've had it for about approaching 4 years. It's been rock solid. It gets used almost daily. I've recommended them to a couple other guys, and they've grabbed them as well. So if anybody's in the market, you don't have to buy some of these overpriced units here. There are a lot of pieces that come out of Taiwan and China that have high quality lenses. Only modification I've done to this is the riser's been added, and I have 2 different lenses, which allows me to mark larger and smaller surface areas whenever I need to. But this is the laser area for marking all of the parts. Behind here is basically my air containment, which is, as you notice, the shop's generally always pretty quiet because I utilize a screw compressor. This thing, it's paid its money and paid its dues many, many times over. The shop is super quiet. It's run as many as 4 machines, plus blowers, plus everything else in here, and hasn't skipped a beat. And all I really have to do is change the oil in it once it reaches the serviceable hours. I do run it with a additional storage tank, which is the tank from my old compressor when it blew up. Now, as far as the building goes, building is pretty large. It's just under 6,000 square feet. It's got 24-foot ceilings. It's fully insulated on the roof. The entire shop is under central air conditioning. I had that installed before I even moved in here because it's Florida, man. You do not want to be inside a warehouse in the summer running machines and having no AC. It makes it very comfortable every day I come to work in here, so it's not a big deal. As far as power, the building is 408 high voltage 3-phase step down transformers, so I can run as much equipment as I possibly want in here. So most of the equipment you see, everything that I can purchase 3-phase, that's the auto purge for the compressor. Bringing in the tank, I purchased 3-phase because it saves a lot as far as the utilities go. Keeps operational costs down, keeps the motors very much like starting on 3-phase a lot better versus single phase. Now, another new addition to product offering starting this year, it's actually going to be hydraulic hoses. And by hydraulic hoses, I mean specifically crimped style fuel, coolant, evap, whatever it is that I decide to do. So got a custom crimper here. Dies have already come in for Fragola, XRP, as well as BMRS, which to me are the top tier as far as the hydraulic stuff goes. So the reason I decided to add this is I'm already doing a lot of different fuel hanger applications, and I've been getting a lot of requests over the last few years, just people that wanted a turnkey kit. So the more popular options where I think I can concentrate on, I'm actually going to be doing full return systems that can be added onto fuel hanger purchases, as well as full feed and return setups, as well as some of the catch can applications. So all of these are going to be a crimp style, high quality hoses, none of your off the shelf cheap stuff. We're going to start by launching in the next couple of weeks a bunch of customized radiator hoses. So there are a few applications I've already got the measurements on, going to be crimping. The next one I'll actually be able to offer you, if you can give me your lengths and your hose ends, such as a 30 degree, 45, 60, 90, or a straight, I'll be willing to take on those orders. And all of this stuff, like I said, this is not going to be your standard AN that's reusable as far as screw together. If I'm going to do it, I want something that has the utmost of reliability. So we're only going to do crimp style hoses. Part of that, obviously, if that's a line or an offering, I didn't want to really spend a lot of time cutting hoses, deburring, cleaning edges. So the next thing is a actual motorized hose cutter, which this thing is honestly, it's pretty dope. It's got a really nice blade attached to it, and as you can see, it's got a serrated saw in here. It's got a big motor, so this allows, and it's actually self-encapsulated, so you can actually attach the dust collection, which is underneath the bench. So any of that rubberized hose and dust actually just gets pulled through and goes down into a small shop vac underneath the bench. So like I said, this will allow me to do those hoses at a much faster pace. I don't have to sit here and worry about cutting them with regular hand shears or anything else like that. So got a nice ruler already mounted on the table, so I'll be able to process. All of the hoses and ends will be down here under the table, and that's something I look forward to. A lot of people, I think, are going to be able to enjoy that, and that's something that is on the horizon and coming. Right over here on the bench, we got another excess tool holder. As you can see, these are actually 92-inch long benches. They're really long benches, so it takes up a lot of space, but it gives me a lot of area. The shop itself is pretty big, but it allows me where I can have designated zones for just accomplishing certain tasks. And one of the tasks that most people don't think is that critical, but occupies the majority of my time, is actually shipping orders. Now, shipping orders is something that takes a lot of time because, one, I have yet to lose a package. I have yet to have significant damage to products that are shipped out of the shop. And that's primarily because I take a little bit more care as far as making sure that these things are processed to arrive in the same condition that they go out. Shipping is done multiple times a week. Smaller items tend to ship pretty quickly because those are just one and grab, pouch, small envelope, small box out there. But pieces that are multiple components, like the transmission conversion kits, it takes a little bit of time to actually package and all of those components. So that's part of the reason why I usually say those things have like a 3 to 5 day lead time, is because it's not that it's not here, not ready to go. It's just, if you want me to just throw it in the box and hope that it doesn't fly out of the box in transit, I mean, that's up to you. But generally, when it gets there, it's in one piece, everybody's happy. The shipping area, I probably have about 30 different box sizes, as you can see on all of the shelves. A lot of packaging tape, a lot of different sizes. I don't ship just the same product that can fit into a few size boxes like some other manufacturers. Because I have such a wide range, I need a lot of different packing area. The hardware area is also located back here as well. As you can see, this is a large, it is a large assortment of stainless, socket head, black oxide, standard metric, everything is here. So it takes a lot for me to process and ship all of these orders. Most people don't realize what it takes, but it's like with over 120 pieces, variable lengths to hardware, as it might not be Amazon fast, but it is still way faster than what most people expect with, you know, just me behind the scenes taking care of it. The shipping area is under a little bit of renovation. Consolidating certain things in here, staging certain things to clean up the process. A lot of small assembly would be done over here as well. I've eliminated that. That's part of the reason, because I'm basically blowing up and imploding the shipping zone on a daily basis. So I'm tired of really doing that. So that's one of the reasons why that area was culminated as an idea. Probably one of the #1 changes that was done late last year, I actually didn't even hook it up until after New Year's, was the addition of the saw. Now this is a fully automated and auto feed saw. So it's got controls for feed rates, blade speed, adjustable length for cutting material. It's honestly increased production more than I ever thought, because now processing material when it comes in is not a bottleneck. I don't have to say, I don't want to cut this, I don't have the time to cut this, or because now I can legit go over here if I want 3 bars of 1x6 cut into 6-inch long pieces. I can load 3 bars, walk away, and it'll feed through all 3 bars automatically. So that actually allows more inventory to be put on the shelf faster, because once the machines are set up, instead of running for a half a day or 1 day, the only difference is now I just run the same parts over a 2-3 day period of time, but it puts 2 to 3 months worth of inventory on the shelf. So it actually helps you guys out as well. Whenever you need something, you're getting it faster. Now the zone that most people don't really get to see a lot of is the anodizing area, which all of the products in-house are also anodized in-house. I can't do huge quantities, but it's more than enough for me to keep up with what I need done. We have multiple tanks. There's actually 9 colors. Some of the colors aren't on the site, but the more popular ones are. But I have 9 colors, blue, green, black, red, a silver, which is a little bit darker than clear anodizing, purple, orange, or burnt orange, and now I added a real gold. So there's 9 colors total. Everything is done here. The process, it took a little bit of learning, but honestly, it's saved a lot of time. Don't have to send it out, wait for it to come back in anymore. So plus I have more variety, because it's like the colors that aren't as popular, I just do to order. The colors that are popular, like black and red, those things are usually already ready to go, a few pieces, because they're the most popular and highest in demand colors. So that's pretty much how I've done it. From beginning to end, it's about 2.5 hours to anodize 1 batch. Beyond that, if I go back to back, because I have multiple racks, which I've done racks for different applications, to suit my parts. Like this is a rack that I use for like the longer IGN brackets, the long 1-piece brackets, as well as the valve covers, because I can hang a pair of valve covers, 1 on each side. And then I have a ton of racks like for these, for the fuel hangers. The beauty of these things is they're all adjustable. I have a ton of different assortments depending on what parts I need to run that I can load onto the racks. So that saves time. It also allows where I can just stage. I can have parts already loaded, waited for one to come out of a tank so that the next one can go in. Usually on a daily basis, the most I do are about 3 batches. Anything else, it's kind of borderline. I probably wouldn't get home until much later. But outside of that, that pretty much covers the vast majority of the tour. I mean, you guys know the cars. So I think the only other thing we have is the new additions, which we're going to be doing a lot of dedicated videos on some of this stuff moving forward, is we have 2 really high capacity payload cobots from Universal Robotics. We have the new UR20. We purchased that one initially as like, I think we were number 2 in line in the country. And then we actually got the first UR30. So both of those are here, and that's actually gonna fill the void in between both machines, because obviously I have a different plan for the UMC for all of those small parts. I don't really want to continue loading a lot of parts, and I want to add more parts, which means I need to free up more time. And even though the pallet pool has 4 stations, sometimes I do have to sit there and load some parts. So I'm trying to eliminate that, and that's the reason why the URs are brought in. So everything over here is going to be getting set up over the next few weeks. I think the only thing that I am waiting on are just the stands. We have the VersaBuilt grippers and pneumatics, all of the VersaBuilt vices. These things were shipped directly from Denmark. I had custom rams made that I needed from Parker. These I had to wait about 6 weeks, but they're here now. This was the last piece I needed, along with the stands, to actually start setting up the UR30 on the UMC. But as you can see, they're already here. And I'm gonna do a dedicated video on these as well. So you guys stay tuned. We can pretty much learn how to get them both to work together, because I've used other cobots, but everything's a new process, and what I'm trying to implement is going to be kind of complex. But once it's running, man, it's going to be incredible. I should be able to spend more time just packing boxes and product development. So for those of you that watch this long drawn out video for our mini shop tour, welcome you to the new channel. We'll be going more in depth throughout all of these new setups over the next few weeks, as well as continuing to go ahead and showcase products, product development, a lot of the behind the scenes. It's not just a channel where it's going to be a lot of tech. It's going to be a lot of development process. I'm going to show you why I'm doing things and why I do them my way. You might not agree, but I'm still going to show you, because I think that's what a lot of guys have wanted. There's not a lot of information on the back end of production and design and development. I'm going to be willing to share it with you, and all of you guys can come along with the journey. So if you like this or anything else that we're going to do, be sure just to hit the alert button so that you'll be notified after you subscribe. So make sure not only subscribe, but hit the bell so that every time I drop a new video, you guys get that notification on the app and on the pop-up on your phone. So thanks again for watching my incredibly long shop tour of Autosports Engineering. Thank you.